These are the buildings that move civilizations. Every single day, millions of human beings funnel through structures so vast, so complex, and so precisely engineered that they rival the greatest architectural achievements in history. And yet most of us walk through them without ever looking up. This is the story of mega transit hubs, the colossal spaces where architecture meets human movement on a scale that's almost impossible to comprehend. From a Tokyo station that processes more people daily than the entire population of Los Angeles, to a Singapore airport that contains the world's tallest indoor waterfall, to a New York City transit hub that cost more to build than the skyscraper standing next to it. These are the cathedrals of the modern world, and they're hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the numbers, because the numbers are staggering. Shinjuku Station in Tokyo handles approximately 3.5 to 3.8 million passengers every single day. To put that in perspective, that is nearly the entire population of Berlin passing through one building in 24 hours. A train arrives at one of its platforms every 3 seconds. 25,000 trains roll through daily, and if you place them end to end, they would stretch from London to New York City. The station has over 200 exits and more than 50 platforms. It is officially the busiest railway station on Earth, recognized by Guinness World Records, and it has been operating since 1885 when it opened as a modest stop on the Akabane-Shinagawa line. Today, Shinjuku is 15 times busier than London Waterloo, the busiest station in Britain. Hundreds of staff members sleep in pods equipped with inflatable mattress alarms to make sure they are awake and ready when the doors open at 4 in the morning. They have to be prepared not just for the daily crush of rush hour, but for earthquakes, typhoons, and security threats. It is not just a station. It is a subterranean city operating under pressures that would break most systems. And Shinjuku is not even alone in Tokyo. Shibuya Station handles around 2.8 million passengers daily. Ikebukuro processes about 2.3 million. Tokyo's rail network does not just move people. It defines what is possible when transit architecture is taken seriously. But here's the thing. Moving millions of people isn't just an engineering problem. It's a design problem. And the way architects have approached that problem over the past 2 decades has fundamentally changed what transit hubs look like, feel like, and mean to the cities they serve. Transit architecture at its core is about the space between the vehicle and the street. It's how you get from a train seat to a sidewalk, from an airplane to a taxi. That sounds simple. It is anything but. The great challenge of 21st century transit design is meeting a set of demands that often pull in opposite directions. You need efficiency, the smooth flow of millions of bodies through corridors and platforms. You need safety and accessibility for people of all ages and abilities. You need comfort, because people spend real time in these spaces. You need aesthetic impact, because these buildings represent cities on a global stage. And increasingly, you need sustainability, because the environmental cost of moving billions of people is something we can no longer ignore. The architects who have tackled these challenges in recent years have produced some of the most ambitious structures on the planet. Let's talk about a few of them. When Santiago Calatrava first unveiled his design for the World Trade Center Transportation Hub in 2004, he described it as far more than a station. His vision was a soaring skeletal structure inspired by the image of a bird being released from a child's hands. When the Oculus finally opened in 2016, it was breathtaking. A ribbed white shell of steel and glass rising from the World Trade Center Plaza, flooding the space below with natural light. It includes a skylight that opens once a year on September 11th, allowing light to pour directly into the memorial site below. That skylight alone cost $32 million. Calatrava said at the opening, and I think this captures his philosophy perfectly. It is necessary that public space prevail. A balance is struck at Grand Central Terminal, and it will be here. But the Oculus also became one of the most controversial transit projects in modern history. Originally budgeted at $2.2 billion, the final cost ballooned to roughly $4 billion, nearly double the estimate, and actually more expensive than One World Trade Center, the 1,776-foot skyscraper standing right across the plaza. It took more than a decade to complete. The overruns were caused by a perfect storm of factors: the complexity of building underneath an active subway line, expensive subcontracts, political disputes, and damage from Hurricane Sandy. Critics called it a symbol of government excess. Supporters called it a legacy project worthy of one of the most significant sites in American history. And there is a genuine tension there that extends far beyond New York. When you are building transit infrastructure at this scale, where is the line between civic ambition and fiscal responsibility? The Oculus forces that question into the open. If a transit hub struggles with function and wayfinding, if people cannot figure out how to get where they are going because the architecture prioritized beauty over clarity, then you have built a cautionary tale. The WTC hub stands at a threshold of how cities balance infrastructure, symbolism, and public value in an era of constrained budgets and complex urban demands. Now let's fly halfway around the world to a transit hub that took a completely different approach. Jewel Changi Airport in Singapore opened in April 2019, designed by the legendary architect Moshe Safdie. The project cost approximately 1.7 billion Singapore dollars, around 1.3 billion US dollars, and what Safdie created isn't really an airport terminal in any traditional sense. It's a nature-themed complex sitting at the heart of Changi Airport, featuring the world's largest grid shell structure and, at its center, the rain vortex, a 40-meter indoor waterfall that cascades from an Oculus in the glass roof down through a terraced indoor forest. In the evening, it transforms into a light and sound show. Safdie himself described the ambition. This project redefines and reinvents what airports are all about. Our goal was to bring together the duality of a vibrant marketplace and a great urban park side by side in a singular and immersive experience. Jewel represents a philosophical shift in transit architecture. The idea that a hub doesn't just have to move people through, it can be a destination in itself. A place where the act of traveling becomes pleasurable rather than merely tolerable. And it's worked. Jewel has become one of the most photographed buildings in Asia and a genuine tourist attraction independent of anyone's travel plans. But if Jewel is about redefining the airport experience, then Beijing Daxing International Airport is about redefining scale. Designed by Zaha Hadid architects and opened in 2019, Daxing's terminal building covers the area of 97 soccer pitches, making it the largest single-building airport terminal in the world. The design is a compact radial star shape, and this is where the genius lies. Despite its enormous size, the layout ensures that the farthest boarding gate can be reached in less than 8 minutes of walking. 8 minutes. In a building the size of a small city. The structure uses a sweeping, fluid interior design that Zaha Hadid architects became famous for, with organic curves that guide passengers intuitively through the space. Customer service robots roam the terminal, providing flight updates and wayfinding assistance. And the sustainability features are significant. Solar panels for power generation, a rainwater collection system that uses nearby wetlands to store and purify water, and heating powered by a ground source heat pump with waste heat recovery. The compact layout also means less ground transportation is needed to move between terminals, which directly reduces air pollution. Beijing Daxing is what happens when a nation decides that its airport is going to be a statement of technological and architectural supremacy. And it's not an isolated ambition. China's civil transport airports handled 1.53 billion passenger trips in 2025, a 4.8% increase from the year before. The infrastructure race in Asia is relentless. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, London spent decades and £18.8 billion building the Elizabeth Line. Originally known as Crossrail, it finally opened in May 2022, representing the biggest expansion to London's underground railway network in more than a century. 10 of the line's 41 stations are brand new, designed by 9 different international architecture studios, including Hawkins Brown for Tottenham Court Road, Wilkinson Eyre for Liverpool Street, and John McCaslin and Partners for Bond Street. What makes the Elizabeth Line architecturally unique is how it balances unity with individuality. Julian Robinson, the head of architecture for Crossrail, described the approach this way. The Crossrail project has worked with world-leading architects and designers to deliver a new railway that draws upon the fantastic transport architectural heritage of London, with each station reflecting the distinct character of the surrounding area and presenting a common line identity. Each station looks different, each responds to its local neighborhood, but they all feel like they belong to the same system. It's an elegant solution to a problem that most transit systems get wrong, where you either get cookie-cutter uniformity or chaotic inconsistency. London found a middle ground, though it took decades of delays and budget overruns to get there. And speaking of delays and ambition, let's talk about what's happening right now with New York Penn Station. Penn Station is, by virtually every measure, the most important and most hated transit hub in America. 650,000 daily commuters pass through it. It is the busiest rail station in the Western Hemisphere. And it is a cramped, low-ceilinged, disorienting labyrinth that has been an architectural disgrace since the original Beaux-Arts masterpiece was demolished in 1969 to make way for Madison Square Garden. But after decades of false starts, the transformation finally appears to be real. In May 2026, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced the selection of Penn Transformation Partners, a team of Halmar and Skanska, as the master developer to lead an estimated $7 to $8 billion overhaul. New renderings released in June 2026 show a grand entrance on 8th Avenue opening to a new train hall, cramped walkways replaced with open concourses, and expanded track capacity. Amtrak's Andy Byford captured the aspiration. Our ambition is, this will be America's world-class station. If all milestones are met, groundbreaking begins by the end of 2027. And running parallel to this is the Gateway Hudson Tunnel project, with tunnel boring expected to begin in mid to late 2026 and completion targeted around 2035. Together, these projects represent the most significant investment in Northeast Corridor rail infrastructure in generations. There is reason to believe this momentum is real. Just across Midtown, Grand Central Madison opened with full service on February 27, 2023, and it has been a remarkable success story. Overall satisfaction sits at 95% in recent surveys. The Long Island Railroad shattered its post-pandemic daily ridership record twice in July 2025, carrying nearly 300,000 passengers in a single day. But New York is not the only city racing to build the next generation of transit infrastructure. Dubai International Airport welcomed 95.2 million passengers in 2025, and it is projecting nearly 100 million for 2026. The $35 billion expansion of Al Maktoum International Airport aims to handle 260 million passengers annually by 2033, with 5 runways and 12 million tons of cargo capacity. Istanbul Airport has overtaken Frankfurt as the world's #1 global transfer hub, with Turkish Airlines connecting over 340 destinations across 4 continents. The global metro systems are expanding just as aggressively. Beijing's metro is projected to reach approximately 998 kilometers by 2025. Shanghai is right behind at 980 kilometers. New York City still holds the record for the most stations of any subway system in the world at 472. And underpinning all of this expansion is a set of trends that are reshaping what transit hubs look like and how they function. Electrification of vehicles, sustainable aviation fuel, autonomous vehicles, mobility as a service platforms that integrate multiple transit modes into a single journey, AI-powered optimization across road, rail, and air, multimodal transport hubs that make public transit so seamless and attractive that private vehicles become unnecessary for most urban trips. This is the future of transit architecture, not just beautiful buildings, but intelligent systems. Hubs designed with solar panels and rainwater collection and ground source heat pumps. Stations where natural light floods underground platforms. Airports where the walk from check-in to gate is measured in minutes, not miles. Networks where a single ticket takes you from a suburban train to an urban metro to a bus to a ferry without ever breaking stride. When we look back at the history of these spaces, from the London Underground opening in 1863 to Shinjuku's humble beginnings in 1885, to the grand ambitions of Penn Station's rebirth in 2027, one thing becomes clear. The architecture of transit is never just about moving people from point A to point B. It's about what a society values. It's about whether we treat the daily journey of millions as a mundane inconvenience or a civic experience worthy of our best design thinking. Santiago Calatrava, for all the controversy surrounding his Oculus, understood something fundamental when he said it was much more than a station. Because the best transit hubs are more than stations. They're the places where private life meets public life, where the individual merges with the crowd, where a city reveals what it truly thinks about the people who live in it. 3 million people will pass through Shinjuku Station tomorrow. A waterfall will cascade through a forest inside an airport in Singapore. A tunnel boring machine will push through bedrock beneath the Hudson River. And somewhere, an architect is sketching the next impossible building that will make all of this feel effortless. That's the magic of mega transit hubs. When they work, you don't even notice the architecture, you just move.